2 grown daughters. I have 3 small granddaughters. And look, keeping dolls affordable, keeping our kids' toys affordable, that really is part of the American dream. I think the American people are going to see the consequences of this. I think they'll demand a different approach. And I think that approach is free trade with free nations. Let's use the leverage, the threat of tariffs, to negotiate down trade barriers with free nations, even while we stand firm with China and others.
And joining us now, former Democratic congressman from New York and senior advisor at VoteVets, Max Rose, MSNBC political analyst and former press secretary to former House Speaker John Boehner, Brendan Buck, and still with us, Matthew Dowd. Brendan, I know that we're kind of jaded at this point, but it is still surprising to see a former vice president continue to criticize his former boss.
Yeah, obviously there's no love lost there anymore, and Mike Pence has been freed up to speak what is honestly should not be surprising politics. I mean, or policy views. What Mike Pence is talking about was what defined conservatism and the Republican Party for literally decades. Look, it's one of the reasons I'm a Republican. I believe in free trade. Donald Trump's right that other nations have put up trade barriers higher than we do. But as a result, we have benefited more than anyone. Our commitment to free trade has made us the envy of the world. We have the best economy the world has ever known. And so Mike Pence is talking about tried and true principles for economic growth. That shouldn't be surprising. But Donald Trump has so changed what we stand for as a party. It makes him a lonely voice, but it really shouldn't be. And I think we're going to learn pretty quickly why this is a bad idea. And Donald Trump's going to pay, I think, a pretty big political price for it. I agree with Mike Pence on that.
Let me play Scott Bessent at the Economic Club back in March.
Access to cheap goods is not the essence of the American dream. The American dream is rooted in the concept that any citizen can achieve prosperity, upward mobility, and economic security.
I feel like if you change the cadence, put a little bit more energy into that speech, you could have heard AOC say this. Matthew, what's going on with the Republicans?
Well, I mean, I'm sure Brendan completely understands. They are untethered to their traditional economic policy that they've, Reagan, Bush, all the Eisenhower, whomever you name, was tethered to in the course of this. I mean, the Dow thing in combination with so many other things, to me, I mean, I'll take a slightly different stance, though I agree with Mike Pence on this, is so tone deaf. Is so completely, utterly tone deaf with what working Americans are experiencing in their lives today. They're not walking around thinking, oh, I can't afford 30 dolls. Maybe they buy one doll for their kid's birthday or Christmas in the course of this. And having had a daughter, I know what that is, having bought her an American Girl doll years ago in the course of this. They're worried about paying their electricity bills and affording air conditioning. They're worried about, having towels that in their house. They're worried about the price of groceries in this. And so, yeah, gifts and all of that are well important. But the idea of saying, well, they can only, they're not going to be able to buy 30 dolls, which I don't know, maybe Donald Trump and the others live in households that I'm unaware of where people are running around buying 30 dolls. I think it's incredibly tone deaf at a time when Americans, especially working class Americans, are experiencing such incredible hardship.
Let me read a little bit from the New Yorker, because I think this encapsulates the weirdness of Donald Trump saying this. Trump made his fortune selling luxury apartments that explicitly cater to the notion that you can never have enough of anything, especially gold plating. His crypto policies seem to be designed to further enrich himself and his family. And his energy policies are a recipe for increasing carbon emissions. Making personal sacrifices, short-term or otherwise, is foreign to Trump's nature. And yet, for political reasons, he has been driven to ask Americans to accept some limits on their shopaholic tendencies. Max, you live in Staten Island. A lot of Trump voters there. Lonely thing being a Democrat in that red of an area. But did you see a lot of that aspirational quality to Donald Trump was really appealing in 2016? Do you see this as being something that eats into the aspirations?
Look, this is economic chaos and destruction, and that's never good politics. I don't care if you're Donald Trump or a Democrat. But I'll tell you what shouldn't happen in light of Mike Pence's comments, and we're all elated to hear he's pro-doll. The Democrats can't be the party of Mike Pence, just like we made a horrific mistake campaigning with the Cheney family. Okay, this is not an opportunity for them to become unabashed free traders or to say we are the Republicans of the Bush-Cheney era. The principal issue with what Donald Trump and his MAGA extremists are doing right now is it is just incompetence writ large, and it's destroying the economy.
So that's a really interesting point. This idea that we do have too much junk in this country. Should Democrats run away from it, or should they embrace the idea that maybe we do want to have higher quality goods, more ability to live our lives with less junk and more, I don't know, more comfort?
We've already had that debate as a country. That's why we don't support child labor, and that's why we have a minimum wage. We already believe that there should be standards across the board, and just having access to cheap goods is not the only thing that we are pursuing. That's not what Donald Trump is doing right now. Without any notice whatsoever, he issued across the board skyrocketing tariffs that are destroying businesses throughout the United States of America. And he did it just because he wanted to issue some really cool tweets and excite his MAGA base.
So what is the argument for Democrats then? What is their economic lane here as they go after Donald Trump? Is it just that he's unleashing chaos, or is there something more?
Yeah, well, first of all, that's not a bad place to start. But the Democrats should be and always should be in the place of enlarging and strengthening the middle class. And I'm sorry, when it comes down to it, tariffs is not how you're going to accomplish that. You're going to accomplish that by investing here at home. You're going to accomplish that by raising the minimum wage. You're going to accomplish that by lowering health care costs. That used to be old school Democratic policies. How about doubling the number of union members in the United States of America? I'll tell you how you're not going to do it, though, by becoming Mike Pence and saying, hey, we just want free trade across the board. The guy also hates unions and wants the minimum wage eliminated. We should not be celebrating Mike Pence.
Brendan, what do you think of that?
Well, Max is sort of raining on my parade because I thought one of the silver linings of this were Democrats were going to become free traders with us all of a sudden. I guess we'll have to keep waiting
it's
on that.
unbelievable. I'm on MSNBC. I'm the only Democrat here besides maybe the host. I don't know.
No, I'm an independent.
Yeah, no, look, I mean, I understand that. Look, what I would say is I don't even think that cheap goods are part of the American dream. I don't even agree that that is. I think what's part of the American dream is a commitment to capitalism, and we believe that we should be able to buy what we want to buy, and we should do what we do well, and we make advanced things in this country, and things that are cheap and making easy to make, like sneakers. Someone else makes that somewhere else around the world. I'm okay with that. I think that the market has chosen that. I think consumers have chosen that. Where you get in trouble is when you start telling consumers and voters what they should want, what they should have. And we keep talking about these things in sort of trivial ways, like it's all about dolls. We're talking about everything that people rely on is going to be touched here, and it's going to have a real effect on people's cost of living. And by the way, we just had an election about the cost of living. We know how bad those politics are.